Hello and welcome to Karen's Piano Blog. We're now at the fall season. We're seeing our students on a regular basis again, and we're excited to get going forward with them. Today I'd like to address a topic that I'm called skipping along. No, this is not to do with the introduction of 6/8 time to young beginners. As a matter of fact, I feel that this particular blog is appropriate to all grade levels. Isn't it wonderful to have talented students who just get it? We assign them new work and they come back with all of it learned the next week. Some of them even read through entire pieces, hands together, at their assigned grade level before you get a chance to see them again. It's kind of fun when we have students like that, because the actual teaching of how to figure out the rhythms and the notes tend not to be the challenge. These students tend to fall into two learning categories. The visual learner, for whom reading new music is a complete pleasure. They love it when you say sight reading time. And the oral learner, who has discovered YouTube and CDs to learn their music more quickly than by reading. So while this is an absolutely wonderful thing, that students can come back with all of their assignment completed, we also have to consider other elements. These students do tend to be able to incorporate timing and notation at the same time. However, they also tend to ignore fingering because they don't need it to figure out the notes. These students often will practice at a fast speed too soon. They tend to want to move on to new repertoire before they have accomplished the details on the page. The visual student may actually find it not too bad to fix errors if they're pointed out early. After all, it took them less repetitions to learn the full piece than people who are not visual first. However, for these students, the actual learning process is shortened so much that they are not always seeing what's on the score once they have read it through. So we do need to find a way of marking the score so that they notice these slips to be able to fix them. The audio student often finds it hard to fix errors. After all, they are playing things the way they heard them off of the CD, from when you played it, from the YouTube. Even if it is an error, it is how they heard it. So unless we take the time to record their pieces ultra slow, they only hear these pieces up to speed and sometimes can't even play them slow. If a student can't play a piece slow, they are going to be challenged in fixing slips and getting physical techniques into their fingers where they can actually observe all of the mechanics that they're trying to be taught. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful when people can come back with a piece completely learned, whether at grade 2 or grade 8, or even beyond that. But we have to remember the downside to this as well, and that what our job is. We need to give these students extremely specific instructions. Have them actually write out the instructions themselves in their dictation book, as this will cement things better for their weekly practice and their daily practice. It's rather ironic, but the readers of music and those that are able to pick things up more easily by ear are not always the ones who read their assignment books with care or make the effort to remember every word that was discussed. For your audio learners, writing out the instructions may not be as effective as having them tape each lesson and then listen to what was discussed on the piece during the week. With students that learn pieces quickly, our job is also to work with the physical motions and mechanics of the different articulations on a regular basis with exercises and technical skills. If the students practice things like the drop-lift motion of a slur in Hanon exercises and scales, they are much more apt to include it in their pieces. Again, I would say have these students write out their technical skills on manuscript paper. But don't just stop there. Put it in a time signature. If they're practicing a piece that is in D major, have them write out the D major scale with the fingering and the full 2 octaves or 4 octaves that they are doing. They need to be able to do this. They can draw in their articulation by actually writing it out. They are concretely putting into a more permanent memory those things that we want them to implement. This also has a fabulous advantage of connecting theory to the playing of music, so students see its relevancy and the relevancy of technique to pieces by actually writing in those fingerings. Being able to say fingering aloud is a wonderful thing also. Have these students talk or sing, as I just mentioned, while they are playing. We need to make sure that when they are making music, that it's a conscious action. Can they say the letters out loud of the right hand or the left hand as they play? In elementary students, they are certainly, with hand-separate pieces, able to do both as they're going along. But being able to actually say the right hand out loud or the left hand as you're playing both hands is a good way of making students conscious who are readers. Can they say they're counting? I know that many of us have a few students who prefer not to count out loud. We need to find a way to get them on board with this. Of course, starting them young is one of the best things. Can they say their fingering out loud? They can practice that with their scales and arpeggios as they are doing their technical skills to get used to this. I like to encourage people to sing the solfege syllables of the melody. Put the words in that if it has words there for us to observe, or actually make up a set of words. Change the title so that it is more appropriate to the child's interests. Can their student clap or tap the rhythm of both hands while counting the basic beat? So if they tap the right hand on the right leg and the left hand on the left leg while they are counting out loud, it helps them to be conscious of what their timing is. Be cautious. When I say that, I say be cautious with the skipping of grades and levels. While a student may seem to be able to read the music of a level without challenges, this does not mean that they have accomplished the pianistic skills that that level requires. It is much better to move through a level more quickly than it is to skip it entirely. All elements of sight and ear and technique need to be covered for every level, but as well as the voicing and interpretation and later on ornamentation. Different composers need to be explored so that students don't think that all dances sound exactly like that one piece that they played in level 1 and that one piece that they played in level 2. We also need to take care that we don't move so quickly that pieces are too mature for where the student is in life. Be aware of the child and their personality at all times. Rushing a child, even a talented one, can result in frustration. And ultimately, when playing out, examiners and adjudicators might be commenting they're not quite ready for this repertoire. And students and their families might not understand this statement because they learned the notation and the rhythms quite easily and they got it memorized. What do you mean that they're not ready for it? Students need to have maturity in order to play some of our greater composers. And they need to have the ability to develop critical listening skills and a longer attention span. If a student is rushed forward, the student is more likely to give up. Private teachers are guides, exploring the wonders of music with our individual students. With these students that seem to be able to learn things quickly, have fun learning lots of repertoire with these students. Create ensembles with these quick learners. Understanding the different composers, what their true characteristics of their piece are, and how that fits within the list A, list B, list C list is a wonderful, wonderful tool to be able to hand our students. Giving students the ability to work with others at music allows them to add a social element, allows them new levels of awareness. And these students that move quickly, you can talk to them about how to use YouTube in other ways and discuss interpretation. We can listen to 3 or 4 qualified musicians play the same piece and discuss what would fit this student most effectively. Our job is to provide a foundation of musical knowledge that allows each student to have a lifelong skill. Let's not miss any valuable information as we move along with our students this fall. Thank you for joining me on Karen's Piano Blog. I look forward to meeting with you again next week.